Hello. Please mute your phones and turn your attention to the public safety announcement. In the event of an emergency at NJ Transit, your safety is our top priority. Please follow these important instructions. In case of an emergency, announcements will be made over the loudspeaker or by a uniformed police officer. If necessary, CPR will be administered using the defibrillator. Please do not approach the dais. Documents can be presented to staff at the entrance to the boardroom. Please follow the directions of NJ Transit Police and staff. Thank you, and have a safe day.
Good morning. The February 27th, 2026 Operations and Customer Service Committee will now begin. I will now take roll call. Board Member Cruz?
Here, good morning.
Good morning. Board Member Beeson?
Here, thank you.
Board Member Nara?
Here.
Board Member Thomas? Board Member Thomas? I see her.
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a hard time hearing what it was working, but I'm here.
Okay. For the record, Board Members Cruz, Beeson, Nara, and Thomas are participating remotely. Board Member McCray is absent. Next is public comments. There's no in-person speakers. There's one pre-registered telephone speaker. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Priority access will be given to pre-registered telephone participants, followed by any additional participants who are queued to speak. If you have not already done so, please press *1 on your telephone keypad to enter the queue to speak. You will hear a brief tone to indicate you have successfully entered the queue. Operator, please open the floor to public comments.
To the queue to speak. You will hear a brief tone to indicate you have successfully entered the queue. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes for their public comment. A warning will be provided with 1 minute remaining, and again with 15 seconds remaining. There are 5 public comments in queue at this time. The first public comment is coming from Adam Reich. Adam, your line is live and your time will now begin.
Adam Reich, speaking strictly in a personal capacity using personal time. First of all, nearly 2 weeks in and with fewer trains running, we still see the Portal North schedules themselves cited as the reason for cancellations. Why is that still occurring, and when will we see that end? At the main New Jersey Transit Board meeting earlier this month, I brought up concerns about crowding with New Jersey Transit's New York Penn Station gate ticket collections based upon a video on Twitter posted by Michelle Charlesworth of WABC TV that garnered a lot of negative reactions from passengers. Worth noting that Michelle is one of your riders, by the way. If you review my actual remarks at the last board meeting, I didn't say not to check tickets at the gate, just that if New Jersey Transit is going to change how it collects tickets, it ought to hear from riders and follow the law by holding 10 public hearings before it implements another fare increase. Chris Calori's response to my pointing out what the law requires, again, 10 public hearings before any fare increase is implemented, was to distort what I said. He basically suggested that I endorsed fare evasion, essentially public theft, and based on that false premise, said he hoped New Jersey Transit would never employ someone like me, a practical claim that I'm not worthy of public employment. Mr. Calori, would you say the same to Michelle Charlesworth, a respected anchor and reporter who pointed out the New York Penn issue as well? Please don't tell me that you'll be asking Frank Baumann to resign because he's mentioning it in his report today. Again, let's be clear. What I said is that New Jersey Transit should follow the law and hold the statutorily mandated 10 public hearings before it raises fares again. So if you're suggesting that to tell you, Mr. Calori, to follow a statute and or encouraging public hearings would be a reason for New Jersey Transit not to hire someone like me, that's a huge red flag. If a subordinate with a legal background tells you what the law says, saying that we must do X, do you review their analysis in detail, or you jump to a conclusion and engage in personal attacks if you don't like
1 minute remaining.
I hope it's not the latter. However, your response to me practically every time I tell you to follow NJSA 27:25-8D2 is to gratuitously mention my employment, something I never do in these forums, and to baselessly attack my integrity. Please ensure the public and the board that you do not do the same when a New Jersey Transit staff member presents you with a legal opinion like mine and or encourages you to meet with the public. Finally, going back to NJSA 27:25-8D2. It's inescapable that it's perfectly legal for New Jersey Transit to hold public hearings before each year's planned increase. There's no rational opinion that could tell you it would be illegal for you to hold additional fare hike hearings. Contrarily, the legislative history, letter and spirit of the statute make it pretty clear that if you fail to hold public hearings before each fare increase, you are violating the law. Beyond that, it's obviously better from a public engagement standpoint to hear from riders and hold public hearings. Finally, Mr. Calori, if you're going to call me out personally this morning and attack me professionally and or my integrity, at least do the decent thing and give me an opportunity to respond during this meeting. Better yet, instead of sniping me, why not call me for a cordial and productive discussion about fares and rider concerns? You promised to contact me in another form as to the last board meeting. Let's make that happen in a productive.
Thank you. The next public comment will come from Sally Jane Garrett. Sally, your line is live and your time will now begin.
Okay, thank you. I support what Admiral just said. I'm Sally Jane Gillett. I am the chairperson of the Lackawanna Coalition. To begin, we appreciate everyone's effort to negotiate these 4 weeks of service changes, as well as the problems we've been dealing with during a very harsh winter. The 4-week service disruption has been communicated well for the Port of North Bridge cutover, which we appreciate. Since we have had several unplanned weather events, we ask if there is a concern that this project may need to be extended. If so, when would that plan be updated? We note that number 126 and number 107 bus schedule are available at Newark Broad Street Station. Nonetheless, it would be useful if the temporary schedules also were prominently posted there during this change. For our main point, the scheduling of connecting trains has been lacking in certain areas. Some of the previous trains for connecting at Secaucus are now Secaucus Penn Station North shuttles. We appreciate this effort of moving people into and out of New York, but it can still result in passengers waiting 20 minutes or more for their connecting train. For example, Pascack Valley Line trains 1632 and 1650. As we pointed out in our February board statement, passengers on certain Pascack Valley trains, especially trains 1650 and 1632, now have to wait at Secaucus for 20 to 30 minutes for their connecting train to Penn Station, New York, and passengers from Penn Station connecting to train 1643 now have to depart Penn Station at 7:54 p.m. and wait at Secaucus for half an hour, or else take train 3969, which departs Penn Station at 8:18 p.m. and arrives Secaucus at 8:28 p.m., leaving only 5 minutes to make their connection. We request that train 1643 be held for passengers connecting from train 3969 if the later train is arriving late in Secaucus. Another concern is the transfer from an inbound Morris and Essex train to Hoboken on the weekends at Newark Broad Street. The time transfer normally available on the weekend has been eliminated. Riders must wait either 55 or 115 minutes for the next Hoboken train or transfer to a Hoboken-bound train at Secaucus. We note that the 3-hour gap on the Montclair-Boonton line on weekend evenings has been eliminated, but we have lost the time connections. We do appreciate the elimination of the 3-hour gap that caused much pain to many riders. We hope that this particular change is permanent and the beginning of an improved weekend service on the line, not just a temporary improvement for a single month, but we are still concerned about making the efficient connections and fares being equal across lines. Vito Havrilla will read the rest of our statement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next public comment will be from Nick Giglia. Nick, your line is live and your time will now begin.
Good morning. My name is Nick Giglia. I'm the founder of Route, Restore Our Transit in Essex, a nonprofit grassroots organization focused on getting hourly weekend train service on the Montclair-Boonton line and restoring 7-day service to the communities formerly served by DeCamp Bus. First of all, I want to again thank the workers who have been keeping the system running during the snow we've had recently. Their efforts in the cold and snow are greatly appreciated. Also wanted to thank New Jersey Transit for using the President's Day schedule on Tuesday on the Montclair-Boonton line rather than the severe weather level 2, which would have imposed the inadequate weekend schedule on the line. This has become more of an issue now because these are the worst snowstorms that have occurred in the area since DeCamp Bus stopped running, so the system does not have the excess capacity and multimodal redundancy it once did. Large segments of Essex County remain transit deserts, especially during weekend and off-peak times, and trying to utilize the weekend train schedule during severe weather underscores how inadequate this offering is for the needs of the area. We again ask for support in funding 2 additional train sets to fund hourly weekend service between Hoboken and MSU, and for a study on opportunities to provide additional bus service to the communities formerly dependent on DeCamp in the Transit Appropriations Bill that the State Assembly will consider this spring. It is time to move beyond the current weekend schedule, which was presented as a pilot in 2009 and is now the only option for over 100,000 local residents. We are confident the transit surveys will show strong support in Montclair, Bloomfield, and Glen Ridge for more weekend train service. Essex County has been waiting for 3 years since DeCamp Bus suddenly announced it would no longer run commuter service, and the time is now to take a stand for more and better service. We know there are large priorities with the Portal Cutover project, but we also believe day-to-day service cannot be neglected in this time. Finally, speaking of the snow, we hope New Jersey Transit will proactively communicate with riders if there is any risk that the snow has affected timelines for the Portal North cutover. Any extension should be communicated early and often, and proactive communication would also be helpful if the weather is not at risk of affecting the original timelines. We understand that the weather is not in your control, but the communication is. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. The next public comment will be from Norman Sutaria. Norman, your line is live and your time will now begin.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Norm Sutaria, Bloomfield, New Jersey. First of all, I wish to echo Nick's comments about thanking all of the workers who kept the system up and running, who kept platforms shoveled, and really made things work for many, if not all, riders during this winter storm. A few quick things. It would be, I'm wondering why last storm compared to this most recent storm, why there was such a departure from the early efforts to communicate last trains and last buses in sort of a service schedule. It would have been helpful for folks to have a day's notice so that they could adjust work schedules and transportation in terms of last train. There was one rider who I knew about who didn't hear about the last train until late in the day when they weren't able to change their work schedule. So very, very, very minor. I also hope that New Jersey Transit is continuing to inspect and kind of clean up some of the snow, especially given that this weekend will be much warmer. The rear platform or the rear sidewalk, the steps at the Watsessing Station westbound are still sort of unshoveled in a short stretch. I'll file a concern about that. And two last points. Just checking in about the Newark bus redesign study, and also, how does New Jersey Transit collect ridership level data? So the 72 bus is one that I'm interested in. How do they collect and report out rider data for specific lines? Those are it would be interesting to know. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. And the next public comment will be from Vito Havrilla. Vito, your line is live and your time will now begin.
Hello, my name is Vito Havrilla. I'm the Legislative Director and Vice Chair of the Lackawanna Coalition. I will be reading the second half of our statement. Winter 2026 storms. We're pleased that on Tuesday, February 24th, the Morrison, Essex, and Montclair Bluton lines were on President's Day schedule instead of the severe weather 2 schedule as on January 27th. For service restoration on Tuesday, February 24th, there was brief confusion on Northeast Corridor, North Jersey Coast, and Raritan Valley line schedules. Those quickly resolved, and that it was still likely something of a chaotic time. We hope care is taken to confirm plans before post go live. Fortunately, the ERA was announcing less service than in reality, so nobody could have been stranded. We thank those who prevented the multi-station skipping that apparently had been suggested and avoided. See the second page for the customer service notice. And again, we appreciate everyone's effort keeping our system going while we are still digging ourselves out of the snow and ice. Our website is LackawannaCoalition.org. Email info@LackawannaCoalition.org. Our upcoming meetings for March, we have 2. A regular business meeting, the travelogue by our treasurer, Brad Payer. That's on the 23rd. And then on the 30th, a panel discussion on the Pascagoula Valley line with panelist MTA Board Representative Randy Glucksman, our Secretary Daniel Chazen, our Chair Sally Jane Gellert. Both meetings start at 6:45 p.m. on Zoom and in person at Summit Free Library, 75 Maple Avenue in Summit. Thank you.
Thank you. And there were no other public comments at this time.
Thank you, public speakers. Do any board members have any questions or comments? Okay. The first staff report is the Operations and Customer Service update. Anthony? Chris?
Megan, let me answer a couple of questions, and then I'll turn it over to my colleagues. First of all, Nick and Norm, thank you so much, and the last caller for acknowledging the extraordinary work, Vito, not last caller, Vito, for the extraordinary work the New Jersey Transit staff did before, during, and after the storm. As everybody knows, this was a historic storm, the one likes of which we haven't seen since 1996, and the fact that we were able to get light rail service up before the end of the last snowflake was in itself a miracle. So Greg Woods and his team at the light rail system deserve a lot of credit. John McCarthy, who's here, from the bus operations, that service was up and going at 4 a.m. the very next morning, despite the challenges about many bus stops and bus shelters not having been cleared. And my colleagues at the Turnpike helped out a lot, clear Penn Station so we can provide adequate bus service the following day. And at 5 a.m. the next day, we had a full heavy rail schedule. The reason that we could not announce the Coastline and Raritan Valley line and the local stops in the Northeast Corridor the night before is that Amtrak was going to work through the night on the switches that were covered in snow. So we just did not want to go ahead and say that that service would be available until we knew that it was clear. At 4:53 in the morning, my colleague Jim Sincaglia, who runs the rail ops, sent me a text saying we are ready to go, and that's when we made the announcement. That is the right thing to do. No point in saying something is going to be on if it was not going to be on, and even the wires in Bayhead were repaired within a couple of hours after we opened service, and we were able to get this full service back up on President's Day. All this to say, and I really appreciate the sentiments that that Norm and Nick sort of provided. It means a lot to us to see the folks who had not slept for 48 hours work through the day, through the storm, and get the service back up again, while other systems, I might add, in our region were not doing that, is a particular sense of pride. And I'm so grateful for the team to do that. And to my good friend Adam, I love talking to you, Adam, but I'm not going to debate you. And I'm going to tell you why. I know you like the fact to hide the fact that you are a public employee, but I'm so sorry to say that you are, and that is a fact. It just felt odd to me when you called into the board meeting. On one hand, you were saying how we should do hearings and implying that we shouldn't be raising fares. And within the same sentence, you say how about our efforts to collect fares in a space that we don't control in Penn Station. We're trying to do the best where most of our revenue is lost on the system. And I give a lot of credit to our ticket collectors who stand there and collect tickets. And I give a lot of credit to the customers. I rode a train with one the other day who said he appreciates the fact that we're collecting tickets before they get on the train. Adam, you may not see it because you seem to take the train always in the wrong direction. In life, it seems, and in work. But the fact that you are criticizing us for doing the right thing is why I said what I said about that we would never hire you at New Jersey Transit, and I still stand by it.
Good morning, board members and members of the public. Good morning, board members and members of the public. We'll be presenting the January Operations and Customer Service Committee report this morning. Deanna Sumner from my team, who heads up customer service, will moderate and provide customer service updates. And the heads from each of the operating divisions will report out on their respective areas. So with that, I'd ask everyone to turn to the next page, and I'll turn it over to Jim Sincagli, our Senior Vice President and General Manager of Rail Operations, to begin with the rail report. Jim?
Thank you, Anthony. We'll start with on-time performance. As you can see from the top left chart, when factoring in all causes, overall on-time performance was 89.6% in January, up from 87.7% in December. When adjusted to remove the impact of Amtrak-related causes, January on-time performance increases to 92.5%, up from 90.8% in December. You can also note increases in on-time performance for individual rail lines, such as the Northeast Corridor, which improves by more than 6%, from 85.9% to 92.2%. Moving to the next slide. This chart provides an added illustration of on-time performance as well as mean distance between failure over time, and includes an on-time performance graph that is adjusted for Amtrak-related impacts. Mean distance between failure was 47,073 miles in January, down from 47,965 miles in December. Moving to the next slide. In January, there were 384 total cancellations, representing 2.2% of the 17,252 total trips, a decrease of 34% from 588 cancellations in December. A little less than half of the cancellations were related to mechanical causes, and approximately 18% of cancellations were due to unpreventable causes, which can include downed trees, flooding, other inclement weather, external utility and power failures, medical emergencies, local police activity, as well as trespasser incidents. Moving to the next slide. Moving to January, rail performance by terminal and time. New York Penn Station trains reported overall on-time performance of 85.6% in January, up from 82.8% in December. Hoboken Terminal trains reported overall on-time performance of 93%, up from 92.2% in December. System-wide peak period train on-time performance was 85% in January, up from 83.9%. Off-peak on-time performance was 90.1%, up from 88.8%. And weekend on-time performance was 94.5%, up from 90.7% in December. Moving to the next slide. For trip annulled canceled, feedback regarding trip cancellation annulment were primarily related to service on the Newark Division. On January 16th, service was suspended on the Northeast Corridor due to a trespasser incident near Princeton Junction. On January 22nd, Gladstone rail service was suspended between Summit and Gladstone due to a disabled train near New Providence. On January 23rd, service was suspended on the Northeast Corridor line due to a trespasser incident near New Brunswick, and actions taken, they're noted on the bottom of the slide. For trip delayed, on January 12th, a disabled New Jersey Transit train on the Northeast Corridor near Hamilton resulted in delays and impacted service. On January 22nd, service was delayed on the Bergen County line due to a vehicle stuck on the tracks near Garfield. Weather-related issues resulting from the snowstorm impacted service, causing delays on January 26th through the 28th system-wide. On January 30th, a disabled Amtrak train in the Hudson River Tunnel caused delays and cancellations for service in and out of New York during the morning rush. During the evening rush hour that same day, due to overhead wire issues in the Hudson River Tunnel, trains were operating on a single track in the North Tube, which caused delays to and from New York Penn Station, and actions noted are taken at the bottom of the slide. Moving to the next slide, I'll turn it over to Deanna.
Thank you, Jim. Amtrak has begun working on a critical series of construction and operational activities to transfer or cut over rail operations from the existing Portal Bridge to the new Portal North Bridge over the Hackensack River. This cutover represents a major milestone in the Gateway program and is essential to advancing long-term reliability and capacity improvements along the Northeast Corridor. All the details related to the project and schedule adjustments through March 15th can be found at njtransit.com/portal cutover. Moving to the next slide. To support our messaging around the portal cutover work, we shared an informative video with customers that explains the improvements currently underway on the bridge and reinforces the travel options available to those impacted during construction. We also shared a post highlighting the customer assistance resources available during this project, reminding riders that ambassadors are on site and ready to help with directions, questions, and navigating any service changes. Moving to the next slide, I will turn it over to John McCarthy for the bus report.
Thank you, Deanna. Looking at the bus charts, overall on-time performance in January was 91.7, up from 89.8 in December, exceeding our goal of 90%. On-time performance on major terminals in January is as follows. Port Authority bus terminal on-time performance rose to 91.2 in January compared to 86.4 in December. Hoboken Terminal's on-time performance decreased slightly to 88.2 from 90.1. Atlantic City on-time performance was virtually unchanged at 97.8 compared to 97.9 in December. Newark Penn Station on-time performance decreased slightly to 93.2 in January compared to 94.9 in December. Walter Rand Transportation Center on-time performance increased to 91.2 from 90.6 in December. Irvington Bus Terminal's on-time performance decreased to 89.9 from 90.6 in December. Moving to the next slide. Trip no-show feedback was primarily related to operator availability. Actions taken were noted on the slide. Trip delays last month's snowstorm led to system-wide delays compounded by facts such as heavy traffic, congestion, motor vehicle accidents on roadways, construction, and detours. In January, service to and from Port Authority Bus Terminal was impacted as follows. On the 5th and the 20th, disabled buses on the suburban bus level on the ramp entering into the terminal contributed to delays. On the 21st, a disabled bus in the terminal along with heavy traffic on 495 caused delays. From the 26th and the 30th, the delays were caused by traffic related to snowstorm recovery and snow removal on various routes. Newark Penn Station service experienced delays on the 21st and 29th due to the bus and major vehicle accident. Access delays to Newark Penn Station bus lanes and road construction affecting multiple lines. On the 30th, bus and motor vehicle accidents, mechanical issues, snow detours, road closures due to ongoing construction caused additional delays. Actions taken are noted at the bottom of the slide. Turn it back to Deanna. Thank you.
Thank you, John. This month, we announced that New Jersey high school students can compete to help us commemorate America's 250th birthday by designing custom bus wraps. The winning designs will be featured on New Jersey Transit buses operating statewide throughout 2026, giving students a unique opportunity to showcase their creativity while celebrating this historic milestone. We also published a post highlighting that we're actively hiring bus operators, encouraging qualified candidates to join our team and help keep New Jersey moving. The post outlines the benefits, training opportunities, and career growth available while directing interested applicants to apply online. Moving to the next slide, I will turn it over to Greg Woods for the light rail report.
Thank you, Deanna. Overall, light rail on-time performance was 88.4% in January, down from 93.5% in December. By line, on-time performance, or OTP, for January was as follows. Hudson Bergen Light Rail OTP was 93% in January, up from 90.9% in December. Newark Light Rail OTP was 99.2 in January, up from 98.4 in December. And Riverline OTP was 72.9, down from 91.2 in December, which I will speak to in slide 13. Light rail equipment reliability, measured as mean distance between failure, or MDBF, is as follows. Newark Light Rail MDBF was 4,146 miles in January compared to 4,511 miles in December. Riverline MDBF was 2,724 miles in January compared to 2,686 miles in December. Hudson Bergen Light Rail MDBF was 11,246 miles in January, down from 12,118 miles in December. Moving to slide 13. Facility station condition. Feedback centered around malfunctioning electronic signboards along the Hudson Bergen Light Rail. Specific comments were related to frozen screens, broken screens, incorrect arrival times, frozen screensavers, and in general, arrival time clocks were not working as intended. And to further explain the situation, prior to this new installation of passenger information boards that's currently underway, a total of 48 customer-facing displays were failing or in a state of disrepair system-wide due to years of obsolescence. The current installation approach is divided into two phases. Phase 1 installation began May 2nd, 2025, and ended February 13th, 2026, installing 34 new boards at 17 HBLR stations. The remaining 14 signs will be installed at the final 7 stations during Phase 2, which is already underway, with an updated completion time of June 2026. Those 7 stations are on the south end, 8th Street, 22nd Street, Richard Street, Garfield, and on the north end, Lincoln Harbor, Port Imperial, and Tunnelly Avenue. Going forward, light rail operations will work with customer service team to responsively address all customer complaints and to proactively identify and address other customer experience issues before they evolve into complaints. Additional actions are noted on slide 13. Overall feedback regarding trip delays for light rail services related to signal and switch problems, adverse weather conditions, radio communication failures, motor vehicle incidents, and trespasser incidents. At Riverline, on January 26th and 27th, delays and cancellations occurred due to motor vehicles stranded on the tracks near Burlington Town Center and Camden, respectively. At HBLR, a trespasser incident near Danforth Avenue on January 27th also resulted in cancellations and delays, and on January 28th, HBLR services experienced disruptions due to 2 separate motor vehicle incidents, a car stuck on the tracks at Jersey Avenue, and a disabled vehicle at Essex Street, causing delay and cancellation fatigue on the same day. At the same time, customers were already weather fatigued. To further explain the Riverline's OTP, on January 6th, Riverline service was suspended in both directions between Walter Rand Transportation Center and Waterfront Entertainment Center due to a track condition near Aquarium Station that required extensive repairs. Those repairs were not completed until Friday, January 18th, by the now former contract operator at Riverline. Additionally, on January 21st, all 3 light rail operations experienced a system-wide radio communications failure that was rooted in a New Jersey Transit comms network infrastructure failure that was located in both northern and southern New Jersey and impacted all 3 light rail systems and some bus operations. The failure resulted in delays at all 3 systems, but the most extensive impact of delays was at Riverline. We have partnered with the IT department to establish preventative and mitigation strategies, and NJ Transit is also having discussions with Verizon to prevent and or mitigate this type of sweeping failure from happening in the future. Additional actions are noted on slide 13, and as we move to slide 14, I turn it back to Deanna.
Thank you, Greg. This month on social media, we posted to alert customers about possible information screen outages along the Hudson Bergen Light Rail while they are being upgraded. We also issued posts about Track 1 being closed at North Penn Station along the North Light Rail. Lastly, we posted about the Riverline operating on a holiday schedule in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Moving to the next slide, I will turn it over to Paulette Grimes for the Access Link report.
Thank you, Deanna. Access Link on-time performance was 95.5% in January, up from 95.2% in December. We served 126,033 total riders in January. The total number of customer service cases for January was 60. The top issues: generating feedback for service delays with 28 and scheduled service with 9. We received 157 commendations for the month of January, with 88 of them for Access Link Operations Center staff. An example of a commendation we received includes G. Akaye, customer call to commend customer service agent Amy Myrick for being patient with needing technical assistance with Uber and Lyft for her TNC vouchers. She stated that Amy was kind, had positive attitude, and was willing to go above and beyond for any extra questions or concerns regarding TNC. She stated that Amy deserved 2 thumbs up for excellent service provided. Moving to the next slide. Service delays. Customers' concerns related primarily to late arriving vehicles. Most of the delays were attributed to operators encountering increased traffic activity, driver errors, and staffing issues. We will continue to monitor and work with our service providers to ensure they are proactively managing trips as required and making changes to promote efficiency and alleviate customer inconvenience. Actions taken are noted on the slide. Scheduled service. A small number of comments were related to reservation errors. Some of the errors involved rides booked for the wrong date, incorrect vehicle exclusion, incorrect address, and missing companion. All errors were addressed with the corresponding agents. We will continue our quality assurance efforts to monitor in-house staff to minimize errors. Actions taken are noted on the bottom of the slide. Moving to the next slide. In January, we posted to inform customers about additional public hearings to gather feedback on the proposed change of the Access Link reservation window. We also shared a post to proactively inform Access Link customers about an update to our seating policy, letting riders know that front seat seating in sedan vehicles is no longer available to ensure their safety and comfort. Moving to the next slide, I will turn it back over to Deanna.
Thank you, Paulette. Customer service received 33,560 calls in January. The 13-month rolling average was 38,232 calls. The average speed of answer for the Transit Information Center was 48 seconds, shy of our goal of 30 seconds. The agents answered 89% of the calls in January. Operational impacts from the major snowstorm contributed to higher call volumes and staffing challenges, resulting in longer wait times and causing us to miss our performance goal for average speed of answer. Moving to the next slide. New Jersey Transit received 162 accommodations system-wide for January. I will read one to highlight the positive impact our staff has on the individual customer experience, in this case, a rail customer. I was on the 640 train out of Red Bank on January 12th and experienced a medical issue where my vision got blurry and I was not steady on my feet. I exited the train from the second car from the front, and the conductor immediately saw that I was having trouble and grabbed me, sat me on the bench, and held the train. Then I said I was okay. He still insisted on calling an ambulance and leaving one of the other conductors behind to stay with me. The conductor that stayed with me offered me a drink out of his personal lunchbox and patiently and kindly waited for the police to arrive. Please extend my appreciation and gratitude to them. Everything turned out to be fine with me, but their dedication and kindness did not go unnoticed. Thank you, New Jersey Transit. Moving to the next slide. On this page, we'll review social media reach and engagement. In January, New Jersey Transit social media messages were seen over 4 million times, generating over 230,000 engagements and more than 38,000 visits to njtransit.com. During the month of January, the social media team sent 5,528 messages. This number represents a combination of informational posts and responses to customer inquiries. Moving to the next slide. In response to customer feedback, New Jersey Transit has relaunched FlexPass. This ticket option allows customers to purchase 20 one-way tickets at a 15% discount and use those tickets over a 30-day period. For customers who travel only a few times per week, FlexPass may be their best value. Moving to the next slide. Our New Jersey Transit Police Department continues to keep customers informed about activities through its social media presence. The New Jersey Transit Police Department issued posts recognizing NJTPD Special Operations Captain Dustin Antonio and officers Paul Gowan and Jonathan Erd for a life-saving cliffside rope rescue along the Jersey City-Hoboken border. Additionally, NJTPD posted to announce the promotion of Inspector Luis Perez and the appointment of Detective Carmine Rucco. Congratulations to both of them. Now I would like to turn it over to Chief Trusillo for an update on NJTPD initiatives.
Thank you, Deanna. The cold weather has been particularly difficult for people that frequent our transit facilities who are considered at risk. Police officers, to include our outreach officers, have been particularly busy this month. We've encountered 593 at-risk individuals in Penn Station, and I'm happy to report that officers were able to get 225 of them to accept service. I've talked before about our partnership with the Attorney General's office in terms of their ARRIVE program, which supports mental health issues in and around the state. Of that 593 people we encountered, 41 had mental health issues, and we partnered with our mental health ARRIVE partners, and I'm happy to report that 7 of those 41 voluntarily accepted services. Around the rest of the state, officers encountered 119 individuals, of whom 56 accepted services. I'm also happy to report, as I do every month, on our Narcan deployments. That's when we have someone who is suffering an overdose. This month, the month of February, officers have deployed Narcan 9 times, and that's down from the 21 times we had to do it in February of 2025. Year to date, officers have deployed Narcan 31 times, saving 31 lives. And finally, we know that smoking is something that our customers complain about frequently, and our customer advocate makes us aware of how important that is. This month, from the 1st of February through the 25th, New Jersey Transit police officers have issued 164 summonses for smoking. And year to date, our officers have issued 343 summonses for smoking in our facilities. And Deanna, that's my report.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Moving to the next slide. And we'll close with a slide that illustrates the press releases we issued during the month, and that concludes the Operations and Customer Service Report.
Thank you. Do any board members have any questions or comments?
Yes, I just wanted to thank the staff, everyone, for their hard work getting us up so quickly this prior storm. I don't know why we've had so many snow issues, maybe because I'm a new board member, that's my welcome. And I also want to say everybody that I have met along the way, frontline workers, have been just as helpful as any customer service people I've come in contact with over the years. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions or comments? Chris?
Board Member Beeson, thank you. Thank you for that. Before I turn it over to our customer advocate, 2 quick updates. I know Nick asked for one on Portal. We certainly, the day of the snowstorm, I know we lost a day, and Amtrak is working very hard with the crews to try and get the schedule back in order, and we'll obviously keep you posted. The first day back is March 15th, so if there's any changes in it, I assure you we will communicate that to the public and to the board. Greg Woods is a modest fellow, but so let me just sort of say this. We took the light rail operations in-house about 2 weeks ago, Greg. I can't even tell you what a difference it has been to see the River Line run out of New Jersey Transit. The people who are running this, Greg Woods, Jackie Fouché, and Sean, there's a whole bunch of folks who work day in, day out to try and make sure that the system runs well. I know we measure things on on-time performance, and that's a good measure, but to see the employees who used to work for a private company to now be part of New Jersey Transit and happy to be part of it, that's the culture I'm talking about. It's a culture of can-do, solve problems, and do everything in our power to run the system. And I want to thank Greg, board members, and the staff for the extraordinary work that they are doing to make sure River Line runs better than it has ever had. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the customer advocate update. Frank?
Thank you, Megan. Good morning, board members. Good morning, everyone. Starting my report with the customer comments collected via the Advocate online form. As usual, I would like to highlight a couple of these issues reported by customers. First, there were again some concerns about the quality of the bus tracking information. Now, as you may know now, there's a group of operational team members who are still actively working to improve the reliability of the data shared on the app. And I wanted to mention it because, one, I support recent IT initiative to bring new technology to enhance that data, but also because new sons are being tested to provide this same information directly at bus stops. I'll come back to this at the end of my report. Customer also shared feedback on the service recovery plan following the snowstorms at the end of January, And some of these comments were also relevant to the storm we experienced earlier this week, so I thought I would combine them. Overall, many customers understood the need to suspend service during the storm, and many expressed appreciation for the hard work of transit employees in restoring service across all modes the following day. Customer had a few suggestions, however. First, for rail service, customers suggested early communication about the post-storm service plan and clearer expectations regarding potential overcrowding. Although some passengers were left behind on January 27, it looks like this week it went much better. Second, regarding post-storm rail schedule, some customers suggested adjusting service patterns to ensure the stations that normally receive weekday service continue to receive adequate service after a storm. Service from Montclair State University is one of the best examples. Finally, on the bus side, there was a couple of suggestions. A bit more transparency on the last services departing Port Authority bus terminal before the service suspension. And there was an uptick in concerns about snow clearing at bus stops. So on this one, I wanted to highlight the proactive work of the GCR team in reaching out to the local authorities responsible for snow removal. Next slide, please. Same process, reviewing the comments and concerns collected via social media in January, which was a pretty active month given the extreme weather conditions and the beginning of the communication effort regarding the Porter Bridge cutover. Suggestion to extend the opening of waiting rooms during severe weather conditions where and when possible was one of them. I know such decision would require temporarily revisit the maintenance plan, but I support the idea at some locations, such as Millburn, Metuchen, or South Amboy, for example. There was concerns about the lack of timely information provided during unplanned disruption, specifically on HBLR. And because this was a topic I highlighted at the last board meeting, I simply wanted to say that progress has been made thanks to the tight coordination between the New Jersey Transit Light Rail team, the New Jersey Transit Communication team, and the new HBLR Contractor Operations Center. I will continue to monitor concerns from that perspective, but I haven't received any in the past 10 days, so it's a clear improvement. Next slide, please. Now I would like to review the customer concern metrics based on complaints collected by the customer service team, starting with rail. Following a modest decline in concerns per passenger in December, the ratio increased again in January, rising above the annual target. This increase was seen across all lines and was largely driven by service-related concerns tied to severe weather, including extremely low temperatures and the snowstorm at the end of the month, which created significant operational challenges. We also recorded an increase in overcrowding complaints, mostly due, like I mentioned earlier, to the reduced service in effect on January 27 following the storm. Next slide, please. Light rail metrics. After a strong month of December, the number of concerns per 10,000 passengers increased by 40% in January. All three light rail services saw this increase, and for the first time it was driven almost equally by station condition issues and service-related complaints. So there was no single facility standing out, but many stations, often highly exposed to severe weather, were affected by seasonal issues such as snow, ice, and sometimes oversalting. Like Greg Woods mentioned, the LED screens also suffered from this extreme weather. Now, in addition, passenger information concerning increase on HBLR, so that I already touched base on that. But I also wanted to mention that the installation of real-time departure screen is continuing, and for example, at Bergen Line Avenue Station, 2 more screens were added. And I mention it because late 2025 at a board meeting, a customer mentioned the difficulty to get real-time information in this deep underground station where internet is difficult to get. So that was these screens are a big improvement. Next slide, please. For bus metrics, following strong results at the end of 2025, during which the concerns per passenger ratio was close to target, concern per 10,000 riders rose by 35% in January. The central and northern divisions were particularly affected by this increase. Nearly all categories of concern saw increases, including bus and bus stop condition and cleanliness, which had shown very encouraging results since last summer. As expected, winter condition and the use of salt on street and sidewalks quickly affected vehicle cleanliness both inside and out. Next slide, please. For Access Link, first, I would like to make a quick correction regarding the first graph showing the number of concerns per 10,000 riders by month. Last month, I mentioned that this number had declined slightly, where in fact, it remained stable in December compared to November. Now, between December and January, the ratio changed very little, stabilizing at 5.8 concerns per 10,000 riders, so down 1% compared with December and up 5% compared with November. Region 3 and 6 both recorded declines in concerns per passengers, while Region 4 and 5 experienced stronger increases. Service-related concerns increased slightly, as did complaints involving service provider employees, but both were partially offset by a decline in concerns related to NJ Transit employees. Next slide, please. In January, the customer experience team, the customer service team and I met with customers at many stations across the rail network to support the communication efforts around the Portal Bridge cutover. We discussed the impact on the passenger commutes depending on their line, answered questions and concerns, and collected a lot of feedback. I personally visited several stations during the morning rush, including Melbourne, Westfield, Woodbridge, Metro Park, etc., and also spent some time at major hub stations since the start of disruption. So these interactions allowed me to identify some of the main concerns passengers shared at that time. Overcrowding on main trains, an alternative option for traveling between Hoboken and Manhattan. From what I observed, after 2 weeks of this outage already, many customers have adjusted their commute by traveling earlier as recommended. Trains are certainly busy, but overall manageable. The marketing team continues to promote the New York Waterway Ferry, a strong but often overlooked option with substantial capacity for crossing the Hudson. Now, there was also a request for additional bus service option to compensate for reduced train service. So early on, cross-honoring on regular bus service was clarified on the website, and with the additional service on bus route 126 in Hoboken, most of the demands appears to be met at this time. Customers on the Pascack Valley line in particular suggested improved connection at Secaucus Junction, like one of the customer mentioned, a member of the Lackawanna Coalition mentioned earlier. Unfortunately, on this issue, aside from promoting the Secaucus New York train shuttle, it was mostly about managing expectation and remind customers that the schedule was designed to maximize capacity rather than provide convenient connections. There was also some requests for clarification about cross-honoring option during the outage, particularly with PATH, as some customer expected to board for free at Newark Penn or World Trade Center. The website was quickly updated to better explain the limits of the cross-honoring arrangements. Finally, since this list was first compiled, at the beginning of the disruptions, the very beginning of it, customers have also raised concerns about closed car and rush hour trains, but this issue is being addressed by the crew management team. They've also concerned about an increase in delays caused by crew availability issue, especially at the very beginning of the outage. Now, aside from this major Portal Bridge cutover, I also met with Atlantic City Rail Line customers affected by the weekday midday bus diversion to ensure they were aware of the available alternative travel options, and I'll meet with them again next week. Next slide, please. To conclude my report, I would like to highlight the impact of customer feedback on New Jersey Transit passengers' information improvement efforts. This is also an opportunity to commend the New Jersey Transit teams for welcoming feedback from our customers and adjusting their project accordingly. I wanted to give a few examples here. So in January, customer feedback inspired a new website feature, now available in the service status section of the NJ Transit homepage. A small search bar allows customers to quickly check the status of their bus route without changing pages or scrolling through the long list of routes. Also, as part of the new wayfinding design project for New York Penn Station, passengers shared feedback specifically on the accessibility aspect of the plan, which was adjusted accordingly. Passengers across all modes provided valuable comments following the presentation of upcoming updates to the New Jersey Transit app, and they were incorporated as well. Finally, they also shared comments on the ongoing experimentation with e-ink screens at bus stops. These screens display real-time departure information and service notification. I met with customers at the stops where the two solutions are temporarily installed, and also collected feedback online to help identify the best option. Some of the comments are included on the right side of this slide. You can read them, they're very helpful. Now, given the enthusiastic responses from customers, I strongly encourage New Jersey Transit to implement one of these solutions at critical bus locations, such as Newark Penn Station. That's all for me today. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any board members have any questions or comments? Okay. Next is the cost of service update. Jacqueline?
Thank you, Megan. This slide presents key performance indicators related to our cost of service, specifically fare box revenue per passenger, subsidy per passenger, cost per passenger, total cost of service, and fare box recovery rates. In January, across all modes and on an average per passenger basis, we recognize revenues of approximately $4.32 on costs of $16.47 for a recovery ratio of 26%. Per passenger subsidies of between $5.74 and $13.79 were required for bus, rail, and light rail service, with fare box recovery ratios of 34% for bus, 35% for rail, and 10% for light rail. Access Link's recovery ratio was 2%. Thank you. This concludes my report.
Thank you. Do any board members have any questions or comments? Okay, that concludes the agenda for the Operations and Customer Service Committee. The Administration Committee meeting will begin at 10 a.m. Thank you for your participation. You may disconnect.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Good morning. I'm
Good morning. The February 27th, 2026 Administration Committee meeting will now begin. I will now take roll call. Vice Chair Carson?
Present.
Board Member Casimir?
here.
Board Member Thomas?
I'm here. Thank you.
Board Member Zevoloff?
Here.
For the record, Vice Chair Carson and Board Members Casimir, Thomas, and Zevoloff are participating remotely. Board Members Morocco and McCray are absent. Next is public comments. There are no in-person speakers and no pre-registered telephone speakers. Those participating by telephone, if you have not already done so, please press *1 on your telephone keypad to enter the queue to speak. You will hear a brief tone to indicate you have successfully entered the queue. Operator, please open the floor to public comments.
Thank you. As a reminder, if you have not already done so, please press *1 on your telephone keypad to enter the queue to speak. You will hear a brief tone to indicate you have successfully entered the queue. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes for their public comment. A warning will be provided with 1 minute remaining, and again with 15 seconds remaining. And there were no public comments from the lines at this time.
Thank you. Jacqueline Stanford will give the financial update.
Thank you, Megan. Today I'm presenting New Jersey Transit's financial report representing the 7th period of fiscal year 2026. Additional information related to key performance indicators, vacancy trends, revenue and ridership, and profit and loss details not presented can be found in the appendix to this presentation. Page 1 of the report shows a summary of fiscal year-to-date operating results as of January. New Jersey Transit saw a net loss from operations of $156.3 million and realized zero net reimbursable project revenue for a total net income of negative $156.3 million. This compares to last year when we reported a $508.3 million loss from operations, drew $652.2 million of federal COVID relief funding, and had a $1.1 million net reimbursable project revenue for a total net income of $145.1 million. Compared to budget, total operating revenues were unfavorable by $79.5 million, or 4.5%. Looking at revenues by category, farebox revenue in January was $554.5 million, which was $18.6 million, or 3.3% less than budget, but 36.8 or 7.1% more than January of last year. Commercial revenue from various sources totaled $82.2 million in January, or $15.4 million less than budget, due to the delay in receipt of property sales. State operating assistance was $485.6 million in January, reflecting the monthly receipt of assistance scheduled to total $832.5 million in fiscal year 26. Funding from the New Jersey Turnpike Authority was $274.2 million, reflecting the monthly receipt of assistance scheduled to total $470 million in fiscal year 26. Lastly, other grants and assistance, consisting primarily of federal funding for preventive maintenance, as well as clean energy funding, totaled $285.1 million, or $45.5 million less than budget, partially due to timing of receipts. On the expense side, year-to-date total operating expenses were $76.8 million, or roughly 4.4% more than budget. This is largely due to a continuing low percentage of vacant positions, as well as increased costs of materials and supplies. Revenues and expenditures together resulted in the net income from operations that was $156.3 million unfavorable to budget. On page 3 is a view of the farebox revenues by mode over the past 12 months. The dashed line at the top of each graph is the budgeted revenue, while the solid line represents the actual revenue since February of 2025. Revenues through April followed budget trend, but lagged in May and June. Revenues returned to 101.1% of budget in July, and were 92% of budget in January, reflecting significant cold and snow in that month. Rail and bus revenues were 93% and 90% of budget, with rail at 1% more and bus at 2% less than January of 2025. Page 4 highlights select major balance sheet items. New Jersey Transit's operating cash balance on January 31st was $56.7 million. There was a $240 million balance on our credit facility, and we had a long-term debt balance of $1.7 billion. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Do any board members have any questions or comments? Okay.
Board members, can I just add a couple of, let me amplify a couple of things that Jackie was talking about. One is, if you notice, the biggest drivers of our expense side of the ledger are labor, fringe, and material costs. Material costs this year in particular are growing exponentially compared to previous years. Two contributing factors to that. One is our supply chain tariff sort of overall policy that is driving the costs. But equally important is we are now beginning the process of correcting for a maintenance program that is going to be more robust. So I think what you'll see happen for next year is a recalibration of how we think about material and supply costs in our budget line items. So, but what is an important note that I want you to think about is whatever is happening in the world on supply chain is now showing up on our balance sheet on the expense side of the ledger in very, very exasperated terms. On the revenue side, I want to just give you one. I know people get sort of upset when I talk about fair enforcement and our efforts for it. And I want to emphasize the reason why we're doing that. It makes no sense to me to be able to lose money, and Jackie's thing, I think, said 3.3% lower. It isn't just about what we're getting in terms of ridership, but there is a loss of revenue that we're trying to make up for it as well. So if there's more robust collections, we begin to erase some of these losses that we are seeing on the system that perhaps could be clawed back and make sure that our projections that we put in the last year's budget become more real. So everything we're trying to do, even if it is inconvenient, especially on the revenue collection, fare collection, is driven to solve for this problem. Because anytime we have a structural deficit like this, our job is to try and cure that structural deficit as best as we can with the tools that we have. So, and I know I sort of talk a lot about fare enforcement and fare collection and all that stuff. This is why. It has to make sure that the revenue side of the equation of the ledger is meaningful and comes in as budgeted, so we can sort of then deal with the expense side of the ledger on some of these uncontrollable costs, like material supplies. So I just wanted to give you that color so you understand how we are thinking about this.
Thank you. Do any board members have any questions or comments? Okay, that concludes the agenda for the Administration Committee meeting. Thank you for your participation. You may disconnect.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.